Gracias.
I love that this city is so teeming with life, it's almost overflowing. There's action, there's music, there's color, there's noise. Mexico City is a three-ring circus, and I love it.
It's a cliche for New York to be called the city that never sleeps, but Mexico City never sleeps.
I feel that I'm constantly expanding, not only learning the language, but learning a new way of living. Muchas gracias.
Es una ciudad dura también, es una ciudad a veces violenta, pero es mi ciudad y yo estoy enamorado de la Ciudad de México.
I think I have ultimately achieved the American dream outside the U.S.
I think that in Mexico you feel free. For me, that is the Mexican dream, just to be you, just to be happy.
Many Americans are flocking to Mexico City to chase after this dream. In the span of the last century, Mexico City's population increased tenfold. Compare that to New York City and LA. Mexico City is currently the largest city in North America, home to over 9 million people and a greater area population of about 22 million. With the rise of remote work during the pandemic, many Americans had the opportunity to work abroad. In 2022, more Americans visited Mexico by air than those from any other country. That same year, just over 30,000 Americans applied for or renewed residency visas in the country, nearly double the number of visas from 2019. Many digital nomads come in on tourist visas, so the real number of people calling Mexico City home, even temporarily, is likely higher. It is impossible to know how many Americans are currently living in Mexico City. But between the weather, proximity to the US, and affordable prices, an increasing number of remote workers are congregating here. This is Kyla, one of the many Americans who calls Mexico City home. She moved here permanently in 2019.
So I fell in love with Mexico City and I've wanted to live here for years. And then I met my Mexican boyfriend. De un cochinita y un chilorio para mí, un cochinita y un chorizo para él. Bueno, muchas gracias. Sin hormonas, hormone free.
I grew up here and I don't know, I guess it's changing. I like personally having like a diverse city. I feel like there's more positive than negative.
Despite the digital nomad craze, there are many Americans taking a different route and settling in to create a life in the city long term.
This is a city of 20 million people and somehow it feels like a small town. The real richness of living here is how communal it is, how easy it is to know your neighbors. Muchas gracias. There's always been Americans from the States living in Mexico. The problem is the lack of assimilation. So are we learning the language? Are we making local friends? Are we making an effort to be part of the local fabric? So if you're gonna come here, make an effort to be here. It is hard to be an immigrant, you know, living outside of my native language, but I feel like the quality of life and my community and the friends that I have makes it worth it.
Mexico City. Here, for many centuries, people have come to meet, work, and live.
Los americanos han estado viniendo a la Ciudad de México desde hace muchos años.
This is Guillermo, a journalist who has lived much of his life in the most central parts of the city.
En el siglo XX hubo sin duda una primera oleada de americanos en los años 20 y 30. Hay que recordar que en ese momento estaba Frida Kahlo, Diego Rivera, muchos pintores, fotógrafos estadounidenses vinieron a la Ciudad de México. Y así durante varias décadas había siempre una presencia de americanos en la Ciudad de México, pero el cambio se dio justo con la pandemia, que comenzamos a ver que las calles de la colonia Roma y la colonia Condesa se comenzaban a llenar de un nuevo tipo de visitante.
These neighborhoods are the heart of gentrification in Mexico City today.
So at the moment we're walking around Condesa neighborhood and we're going straight to Roma Norte.
This is Leticia, a local architect with a focus on urban communities.
This neighborhood and Roma Norte is where we see the concentration of tourists, people that are coming to live temporarily here in Mexico or permanent. They establish here and they usually don't go out that much. So this sometimes can be a little bit like Mexican Disneyland.
So Roma and Condesa, there's a lot of people who make fun. They're like, we need a visa now to go to those neighborhoods. People saying like, oh, now dogs speak English.
Los barrios Roma Condesa no eran unos barrios populares, eran unos barrios de clase media que de hecho se habían despoblado después del temblor de 1985.
The digging continues, the death toll rises. More than 250 buildings in Mexico City have been reduced to rubble.
Y que habían sido repoblados por los jóvenes de mi generación que llegaron a esta parte de la ciudad a ocupar apartamentos muy amplios a unos precios ridículos. Y me tuve que mudar de aquí por el temblor de 19 de septiembre de 2017 porque el edificio quedó sumamente dañado y muchos de los habitantes de aquí pensamos que no era seguro seguir viviendo y nos mudamos a otras partes de la ciudad. Pero bueno, me tocó mirar esta primera gentrificación de la ciudad. Lo que estamos viviendo es una segunda ola de gentrificación.
When the pandemic hit in 2020, Mexico kept its borders open to American tourists. This allowed remote workers from the U.S. to enter the country freely on tourist visas for up to 6 months. Americans can also apply for a temporary residency visa that allows them to work remotely in the country for up to 4 years.
The amount of peace and ease that I have in this life, I would not trade that for a world. Not more money, not more stuff, none of those things.
Adelia first lived in Mexico City in 2017, and by 2020, she decided to move here permanently.
Since moving abroad, the thing in my life that has changed the most is how I think about work and how I think about leisure. Here in Mexico City, things are just a lot more laid back than in the US. I am no longer in a rush to do anything. Life is so much less about doing things out of concern or fear for what I might miss out on or what might happen. And it's more about going with the flow, taking things as they come, and really getting to live in the moment.
She was a public school teacher in Texas for nearly 20 years, teaching social studies, geography, and history.
The American dream is a sham. I had the house, the cars, the kids. I did all of that, but even achieving those things, it still seemed like it wasn't enough. I was cratering under the weight of all of the expectations that were on me as a teacher. I wanted to live a life where I wasn't in constant fear of being bankrupted by medical debt. Here in Mexico, I worry less about money, and it's not a factor of I have more of it, because I don't. It is more of the way the system is set up that I've got more options than I did in the US if things were to go south financially.
Across Mexico, there is great wealth disparity and inequality. In Mexico City, the top 10% of earners make 13 times more than the bottom 10%. The top 10% of households with the highest income make, on average, about $65,000 on an annual basis, while the average salary in Mexico City is about $20,000. Compare that to the New York City metro area, where the average salary is close to $80,000 a year.
I try to be mindful of how I move, economically speaking, because I am cognizant of the fact of what wages are here.
Sometimes gringos, we come to Mexico and we think it's so cheap or it's so affordable. which, yeah, maybe it is affordable because we have the dollar, but to Mexicans, it's not cheap.
The strength of the dollar against the peso further helps Americans achieve the quality of life they've been searching for.
La mayor parte de la migración mexicana a los Estados Unidos es una migración por sobrevivencia. Es gente que va buscando mejores oportunidades de vida y que están dispuestos a arriesgar un trayecto que es sumamente peligroso para llegar a los Estados Unidos. Cuando los norteamericanos vienen a México, sobre todo a la Ciudad de México, no vienen por razones de sobrevivencia, vienen porque hay una mayor flexibilidad laboral, porque hay una distinción de precios entre México y Estados Unidos, que es mucho más barato y sus dólares lucen más, pueden gastar más.
If you see at the back, it's like full of laptops and just people working and having a coffee. It's a weird dynamic. Like, since we've been here, everyone that's come to the counter only speaks English. If you go out there, there's only one table that are speaking Spanish. Then you start to see again, you know, Mexicans behind the counter doing all the work and preparing the meals and serving the white people.
But for Black Americans, leaving the U.S. affords a deeper sense of safety.
I've gained a lot of safety and security. I don't fear for my life.
However, Mexico suffers from high rates of violent crime, and homicide rates are nearly 4 times those in the U.S. Additionally, it's estimated that 90% of crimes are never reported.
Even though there is colorism here and Mexicans have their own problems in terms of racial dynamics, here I feel more comfortable. I would say that the history of the United States is so steeped in negativity and racism. Seeing a person publicly executed over and over and over and over again while we're trapped at home really changed my thinking and the thinking of a lot of people.
It feels weird to say that I feel safer in Mexico City than I do in the US. The US is a hard place to live.
Tiara moved to Mexico City in 2021 as a remote worker.
I loved it so much here that I decided to stay and got residency.
After about 9 months of living in the city, she was laid off from her job.
I decided to finally take the plunge into owning a restaurant.
Thank you for coming out to the first annual Juneteenth celebration.
You want a coffee?
Tiara opened a soul food restaurant in January 2023.
So Black, Mexican, and kitchen in Spanish, and you put that all together and you have Black Cocina.
So everybody's happy, some aren't because of the economic problems that gentrification brings. But I think it's great. Like, this place is great, the community is great, the food is amazing.
How are you?
We use this bell when we close a deal for renting or sell a house. And this is for good luck for Jenny and me. This is going to be a good year for us.
This is also Leticia, a local real estate agent who sees newcomers with deeper pockets as an opportunity.
Everybody wants to move here. I think that is very good for me because I have a better salary here. I think that is a good opportunity, so I told the locals, why don't you try to learn English?
Hey, good morning, lady. How are you doing?
You just see the good side of this and not the bad experience here. Es un departamento que vamos a mostrar. Okay, this apartment is an exterior apartment. This is the living and dining room. And it's in Colonia Narvarte. I think that is a good opportunity to rent. This is the bedroom. And here is the bathroom. Has a lot of light. And you have everything for your dishes. $500 per month, plus utilities, water and lights.
The average cost of a 2-bedroom rental in the city is about $880 a month. This is in stark contrast to major American cities. In LA, the average rent is about $4,300. In New York, it has soared over $5,000. However, since 2020, rent in one of the trendiest neighborhoods in Mexico City has risen nearly 60%. Additionally, over 50% of respondents in a recent survey reported facing problems paying their rent or mortgage in the city.
I think that the government is starting to see that a lot of foreigners coming too, so they need to put the rules for the owners so they will be affordable for the locals too.
Muchos de las personas dueñas de departamentos comenzaron a darse cuenta que existía un mercado en dólares para rentar sus apartamentos y también comenzaron a pedirle a sus inquilinos que se mudaran a otras partes de la ciudad.
If you just want to push out all the Mexicans, it's going to be really sad. I mean, it's going to be like being in Brooklyn, being somewhere else. It's not going to be being in Mexico anymore.
Basically what happens is kind of a butterfly effect where, people from out of the country come and establish in the nicer areas or the nicer parts of our city, and then we are forced to go out. I myself have been displaced, so then I am displacing someone else, and I think that shouldn't be the case, and we shouldn't be forcing people to be living in precarious zones or dangerous areas of the city.
Actualmente no existe un control de precios sobre las rentas. Entonces yo hoy día puedo pagar una renta de cierto precio, pero si una persona que viene de Estados Unidos puede pagar el doble, pues entonces el dueño de esa propiedad se lo va a rentar a una persona que tiene más poder adquisitivo. Y cuando no podemos permanecer en nuestro territorio por una cuestión económica, estamos rompiendo lazos comunitarios, estamos rompiendo tradiciones, estamos rompiendo una serie de cosas que nos hacen culturalmente mexicanos y mexicanas.
Part of the problem is the lack of new developments for housing. Additionally, there is the issue of short-term rentals, which diminishes housing inventory for residents. This is not just happening here. It's a problem across the globe. From 2019 through August 2023, short-term rentals in Mexico City increased by about 45%. In 2022, the Mexico City government partnered with Airbnb to promote the city as a global remote working hub. In a statement to CNBC Make It, a representative from Airbnb said the company is committed to helping develop lesser-known destinations and helping redistribute tourism. Airbnb also collects and pays lodging taxes and says it continually shares statistics about the platform's activities with the government. Airbnb's partnership with Mexico City sparked anger for many.
The short-term rentals are not regulated in Mexico City. And just like in any other big city, that hurts the social fabric a lot. Why is it that it's regulated in New York, in Barcelona, in Berlin, where this became a problem? And then in Mexico City, it was the complete opposite.
I think it's fantastic that people are coming and then tourism is blossoming in Mexico City. But when people are taking the free 6-month visa and overstaying and, not blending with the locals, not spending in local areas and not understanding what their presence means in political, economical ways, I think that's when it's difficult.
There are also reports of tenants being pushed out of their homes so landlords can renovate the units for the short-term rental market. In September 2023, lawmakers introduced a bill in Mexican Congress that would tax digital nomads after their 20th day in the country, though it remains just a proposal.
Entonces me parece que nosotros tenemos una gran responsabilidad para poder generar una normatividad amable, que no sea rígida, que no sea burocrática, que nos permita convivir a quienes hemos vivido aquí toda nuestra vida y a quienes vienen a vivir ahora, que optan por nuestra ciudad como un destino bonito, como un destino agradable.
And then peanut butter.
There's some spoons.
The one that's rest now.
Let's scrape it out. ¿Quieres decirlo en español?
¿Sí? Hola, mi nombre es Cora, tengo 9 años, soy nacional. Mi mamá es de los Estados Unidos y mi papá es cerca por Veracruz.
Es mexicano. Like if you say my country is the United States, you'd say his country is Mexico.
I decided to live in Mexico City really because of love.
This is Caitlin. She was a paralegal in North Carolina before moving to Mexico City in 2011.
I live in Mexico City with my Mexican national husband and my binational daughter, who is 9 years old. Mexico has a collectivist culture. I value that my daughter is growing up with that sort of mentality, that there is a we, there's an us, and I really appreciate that.
Caitlin and her husband Victor earn their living in pesos.
When I moved to Mexico City while I was waiting for a work visa, I just hopped into a dance program and it turned out to be like a full modern dance performance degree, which was the biggest serendipity of my lifetime.
She works as a choreographer and takes on other performing arts roles.
I'm sure that I never would have been able to pursue this thing that I've wanted since I was a little girl and that I had really repressed and talked myself out of, but I'm just so grateful that I get to do this with this one precious life.
In response to the tension created by digital nomads, there is a consensus on ways to mitigate the impact.
Meet your neighbors, get dirty. Get in the trenches, let yourself become a student of the culture because there's so many things in our hearts and our minds that can be transformed by the cultural richness of this place that we would never experience if we don't cast off the privilege of being someone from a dominant culture and having those dollars that speak loudly and move things.
One of the great things about being here is that people are very, very patient, and the more Spanish I learn, the more doors open up, the more friendly people become, the cheaper things get.
Yo les pediría que también hagamos comunidad para sentirnos seguros, para sentirnos contentos, para sentir que estas poblaciones tienen preocupaciones, tienen aspiraciones, tienen alegrías. Lo peor que nos podría suceder es vernos como comunidades aisladas.
People will always be on the move.
What we need to understand is that people that are migrating, they're only looking for a better quality of life. We're all humans and we're all looking to be able to afford our basic needs, to have a family, to have rest time.
As for these Americans, they just may have found what they've been looking for.
I'm deeply, deeply happy, and I'm just grateful for this strange, uncalculated life that I have stumbled upon, and I'm really grateful for the people who have adopted me and formed community with me.
Now I'm a permanent resident, so I can be here as long as I want, and that's the dream. I'm so happy. I don't think I will ever move back full time. There's so much to my life here that really enriches my experience of the day-to-day living that I wouldn't want to give that up.
There's just a dream that I have, and that dream is just to be treated like everyone else, to be treated fairly, equally, and to have peace. And Mexico City is the place where I've been able to achieve that. And I'm rooting for the US, but as far as going back, I don't have plans to move back home.
I didn't know that I needed to leave in order to achieve what I have. I'll stay in Mexico for as long as y'all will have me.
I have always seen myself as an immigrant because my intention was to move here and build a life here. Mexico City is home. I expect to be here forever. My dream life is almost the antithesis of what we consider to be the dream life in America. It's not about accumulating wealth. It's about having control over my time. That is my dream life.